At work, she was always the one in camo, an unusual sight among the usual office suits and casual wear. People whispered, sometimes laughed, wondering why she dressed like she belonged in the military or out in the wild instead of sitting behind a desk. She never said much, just kept doing her job, quiet and steady, like she was used to being overlooked. But there was something about her that no one really understood. The way she moved, the way she handled things, it was different. But nobody stopped to ask why. Instead, they mocked her, calling her odd, out of place. No one expected what was about to happen next. One afternoon, the normal hum of the office was shattered by an unexpected roar in the sky. A massive Black Hawk helicopter appeared, landing right outside the building, stirring dust and catching everyone off guard. Suddenly, all the jokes and sneers faded away as all eyes fixed on her. Why was that helicopter here? Who was it really for? The tension was thick. This woman in camo wasn't just some oddball employee. There was a deeper story behind her presence, a secret that was about to change everything. As the helicopter doors opened and a few figures stepped out, the room grew silent. No one could have guessed what would happen next, or what this woman's true role was. This moment was about to turn her world upside down and everyone else's too. The mockery would stop, but what came after would keep everyone on edge, wondering who she really was and why the Black Hawk had come to get her. What secrets was she hiding? And what did this unexpected arrival mean for her and for the people around her? The story was just beginning. No one really knew much about her past. She kept to herself, always quiet during lunch breaks, never joining office gossip or small talk. But those who worked closely with her noticed how sharp she was, quick decisions, calm under pressure, like she'd faced challenges far beyond a regular 9-to-5 job. Her camouflage clothes weren't just a style choice. They hinted at a part of her life that didn't fit the ordinary office world. People speculated, was she in the military? Maybe security. But no one ever asked directly, and she never offered an explanation. The Black Hawk landing outside was more than just a show of power or a dramatic arrival. It was a signal that she belonged to a world most people didn't understand. As the helicopter blades slowed and the dust settled, a group of serious-looking men in uniforms approached. They didn't look like tourists or casual visitors. Their presence brought a new kind of tension to the office, a reminder that beneath the everyday routine, something bigger was happening. Inside, she gathered her things calmly, her face unreadable. No smiles, no goodbyes, just a quiet readiness. It was clear she had a mission, something urgent that pulled her away from the ordinary life everyone assumed she led. Her coworkers watched, stunned and curious, suddenly realizing that all their jokes and doubts missed the mark entirely. Questions buzzed in the air. Why had the Black Hawk come for her? What role did she play that required such a dramatic extraction? And what would happen to the office now that the woman in camo was gone? The story stretched beyond the walls of that building, hinting at secrets and dangers lurking just out of sight as the helicopter lifted off, carrying her away into the unknown. The office was left with silence and a mystery that no one was ready to forget. As the helicopter disappeared into the distance, the office felt strangely empty, like a piece of its heart had been taken away. Her coworkers exchanged uneasy glances, some still struggling to grasp what had just happened. Whispers spread quickly. Who was she really? Why had she been picked up in such a dramatic way? The questions hung in the air, but no one had answers. The laughter and teasing from before were replaced by a heavy silence, filled with curiosity and confusion among her colleagues. A few had noticed subtle signs over time, little things she never spoke about, but that now seemed like clues. The way she kept her phone locked with a code no one could guess. The odd times she disappeared during the day, sometimes for hours. The way her eyes sometimes seemed distant, as if carrying memories she didn't want to share. It became clear. She had been hiding more than just a style preference. Meanwhile, the office manager faced a new challenge. With her sudden departure, projects she was leading began to falter. She had been a quiet but steady force, someone who kept things running smoothly without asking for attention. Now, others scrambled to fill the gap, unsure if they could live up to her quiet strength. Tensions rose as deadlines approached, and without her calm presence, the usual rhythm of the workplace felt off balance. Outside the office, rumors began to swirl. Some guessed she was connected to the military or intelligence agencies. Others believed she might have been undercover, working on something dangerous that finally caught up with her. The mystery deepened when a few noticed unfamiliar faces. Visiting the building in recent weeks, people who seemed out of place but too serious to ignore. Everyone was left wondering if they'd never understand the truth behind the woman in camo. And as the days passed, the feeling lingered that her story was far from over. Something bigger was unfolding, and no one was sure what it would bring next. Days passed, but the office still felt the weight of her absence. The woman in camo had left a mark no one could explain, mix of respect, confusion, and something like fear. Her sudden extraction by the Black Hawk wasn't just a headline or a story to share at the water cooler. It was a sign that whatever she had been involved in was serious, dangerous even. People started watching the door, wondering if more surprises were coming. If this was just the beginning of something none of them could predict. The office manager tried to keep things normal, but cracks were appearing. Without her steady hand, small mistakes piled up. Important emails went unanswered, meetings were missed, and a sense of urgency began to seep in. Meanwhile, those who had been closest to her started digging quietly, trying to piece together her story from fragments of old messages left open on her computer. A few photos hidden in a desk drawer, coded notes that didn't make sense. Each clue only made the mystery deeper, stirring unease rather than comfort. Outside, rumors grew louder. Some whispered about secret missions, classified operations, and threats from powerful forces. Others feared the woman had enemies who might come looking for her worse, for the people she'd left behind. Security tightened, and every unexpected visitor was met with suspicion. The atmosphere changed. What once felt like a normal workplace now resembled a scene from a thriller. Then, late one evening when the office was nearly empty, the lights flickered. A shadow moved just beyond the windows. Phones buzzed with cryptic messages, and alarms silently triggered in locked rooms. It was clear someone was coming, and it wasn't by chance. The calm was shattered, replaced by a rising storm of tension no one could ignore. The question wasn't just who the woman in camo really was anymore, but whether the rest of them were ready for what was about to unfold. Just when everyone thought the worst was behind them, the unexpected happened. The security cameras caught a glimpse of someone who shouldn't have been there slipping into the building under cover of darkness. The figure moved with purpose, familiar with the layout, avoiding the usual patrols. It was a chilling reminder that the woman in camo's departure hadn't closed the door on whatever storm was coming. If anything, it had opened it wider. The office staff received a sudden alert. Sensitive files had been accessed remotely. Files linked to the woman's work. Panic spread quickly. Was trying to dig into her secrets now. And how much danger were they bringing with them? The questions multiplied as the team scrambled to secure what they could. But it was clear their defenses were no match for whoever was behind this. Then came the shock no one expected. One of her closest co-workers, someone who had quietly supported her all along, was found gone. No note, no warning, just vanished. Was it connected to the mysterious visitor? Had the enemy already infiltrated their ranks? The betrayal cut deep, shaking the trust the office had left, As the hours ticked by, the building locked down. Phones went silent. Outside, the hum of the Blackhawks' engines returned, low and distant, as if signaling a new phase in the unfolding crisis. The woman in camo wasn't just a forgotten colleague anymore. She was the key to something bigger, a link between the quiet office and a dangerous world no one had fully understood until now. The stakes had risen. The lines between friend and foe blurred, and the race against time was on, with secrets unraveling and danger closing in. Everyone realized the real story was just beginning. The next moments would decide who would survive what was coming. The tension in the building was electric, every heartbeat echoing in the silence that had fallen. Suddenly, the locked doors burst open, and the woman in camo strode in not alone, but flanked by the same serious men who had arrived with the Blackhawk. The office held its breath. She looked different now. No longer the quiet figure people had mocked, but a commanding presence carrying the weight of something far bigger than anyone imagined. She explained, her voice steady but urgent, that she had been working undercover for a covert unit tracking a dangerous network threatening national security. Her work required secrecy, which explained the distance she kept from her coworkers. The Black Hawk had come to extract her because the threat had escalated. Those trying to breach the office were connected to the network she had been fighting against. The missing coworker, an unwitting pawn taken to send a message as she spoke. The men secured the building and shared evidence gathered from the break-in attempt. It was a relief, but the danger wasn't over. Just as the office began to absorb the reality of the situation, alarms blared again, this time signaling an intruder inside the building. In a flash, she moved to intercept, her years of training clear in every move. The office watched as she confronted the threat. A tense struggle that ended with the intruder captured and unmasked a trusted employee who had been feeding information all along. The shock rippled through everyone. The betrayal ran deep, and the woman in camo's mission was now personal. But before she could respond, a message came through her secured phone orders from higher up. She had to leave immediately, the network's reach even broader than they thought. With a quick nod, she turned to leave once more, but paused and looked back. "This isn't over," she said quietly, "and neither is the fight." As the Blackhawk's rotors began to spin again, the office was left in stunned silence, changed forever. Caught between the normal world and the shadowy one they'd just glimpsed. The woman in camo had returned to the fight, but the true story was only just beginning as the Black Hawk lifted off once again. Carrying the woman in camo back into the unknown, the office slowly began to breathe again. The fear that had settled over everyone started to fade, replaced by a new sense of respect and understanding. No one would ever look at her the same way again. The quiet woman they had once mocked was a protector, guardian working in shadows most of them couldn't even imagine. The missing coworker was found safe a few days later, shaken but unharmed, and the betrayal within the office led to tighter bonds among the team. They realized how fragile trust could be, but also how powerful it was when people stood together. The office manager stepped up, determined to rebuild not just the workflow, but the spirit of the team, making sure no one felt invisible or misunderstood again. Though the woman in camo was gone, her impact remained. She had reminded everyone that people carry stories hidden beneath the surface. Stories that might never be fully told but shape who they are. Her courage and dedication left a quiet inspiration behind, a reminder that strength often comes in unexpected forms as life returned to normal. The office wasn't just a place to work anymore. It was a place where respect grew from understanding, where differences weren't mocked but valued. The Blackhawks' visit was more than a dramatic moment. It was a wake-up call to see beyond appearances, to appreciate the hidden battles people face every day. The woman in camo had stepped into the spotlight for a brief moment. showing that sometimes the quietest people carry the heaviest burdens, the greatest courage. And though she was gone, her story stayed with them. A lasting lesson in strength, loyalty, and the power of believing in someone before you know their whole story.